Hello, welcome back to the Hockey Kid. Get my notebook for this one, sorry. Today I'm going to talk about the best contracts in the league. So the teams are in no particular order, just a random order that I picked up off the top of my head. And I'll get started. I'll explain why I picked these in every video. This today. This is take 2, because first take I wasn't recording, apparently. Anyways. Chicago, starting off first. Okay. The Brinket, $6.4 million till 2023 for a young 40-goal scorer that can threaten 50 and an 82-game schedule. This is a bargain bin contract. Next year he's going to make $9 million or more, because of his qualifying offer is $9 million. He's on a line with Kane, and that'll certainly help his numbers. But the raw talent for this second round pick, he's still young. I think he's only 24, or I think he's even younger. Regardless, excellent player, excellent contract. Anaheim. Hampus Lindholm, $5.2 million, expiring this year. So I think Hampus Lindholm is a top 25 defenseman in the league. Top 25 defenseman in the league. Excuse me. For what he provides, $5.2 million. Great cap hit. Great contract, I think. I don't think that players expect more from him than what he already provides, or teams or anything expect more from him. He is still excellent defenseman. He's only 27. Assuming Anaheim is out of a playoff spot by the trade deadline, he'll be a huge target for any team looking to add the depth on the blue line. Not just depth, but a true number one defenseman. Speaking of defenseman, Nashville, his best contract. Spell it right. Matthias Ekholm. $3.75 million expiring this year. He's 31 years of age, but overall, for another top 25 defenseman, I'd say he's definitely up there in the top 25. How is that not a bargain contract? He's easily worth $6-7 million, but he doesn't make that. And if Nashville's out of a playoff spot, he's a rental. For a rental at a 50% retained, which is $1.875 million, that's excellent for a number one defenseman on most teams in the league. He'd be a top 4 on 90% of the teams, if not all of the teams in the league. Montreal would definitely be a top 4 defenseman. Even Tampa, who's probably the best blue line in the league, he'd be a top 4 defenseman. So, yeah, this is an excellent contract signed by David Poile. Yeah. Speaking of legendary general managers, Islanders. So, who I think another defenseman, his best contract, Brian Pullock, $5 million, 2022, expiring this year. So, this is one of the few contracts Lou Lamoriello signed that I think is actually a bargain contract. For what Pullock is, as a top 30 defenseman in the league, he pairs well with Adam Pelech. Pullock, great pair. Pullock's defensive numbers are fantastic. He's a defensive defenseman that can also chip in offensively. Pullock is an offensive defenseman that can chip in defensively. Excellent pair, works perfectly for any situations. One of the best pairs in the league. Uh, yeah, overall, great contract. Next up, Boston Bruins. Patrice Bergeron, making $6.875 million till 2022. They're working on an extension with him. Probably gonna be less money because he's older now. Bergeron is probably the best defensive forward ever, but certainly the best I've ever seen. He's a killer in the face-off dot. Excellent defensively. Perennial Selke contender. Excellent centerman. Number one centerman on most teams throughout his career. Captain of the Bruins now. Fantastic player. Nothing else to add to that. He's my favorite Bruin. As a Habs fan, it pains me to say I have a favorite Bruin, but I do. Yeah, if I were to get a Bruins jersey, that's the name I get behind it. So, yeah, that's that. Next up, Florida. Another excellent defensive center. I'm not doing this on purpose, I swear. But Barkov, $5.9 million to 2022, expiring next year. Like I'm getting an extension soon in Florida. Nothing else to say other than the Selke winner. So defense is solid, and he's a 30-goal scorer. He can get you a point a game every season. Incredibly underrated player. I don't think he's as underrated as he was before, but he's still definitely underrated. He's easily worth that $9+ million contract. Absolutely, without a doubt. Yeah, so that's nothing else to say other than Barkov's fantastic. And Florida should be a good team next year. At least they hope to be a good team in a really tough Atlantic division that they are going to be a part of. So, that's that. Next up, Edmonton. This one was a little bit tough to consider considering other players, but Leon Draisaitl for a 100-point player making $8.5 million 2025. What a steal of a contract for Leon Draisaitl. The best Sherman Board player, likely a Hall of Famer in his career. I could see him as I could see Bergeron as a Hall of Famer too. He is fantastic, and he's a second line center. He is the Malkin of his generation, behind a better centerman and David, who's making a lot of money, and he's easily worth every single penny of that contract. Yeah, that's that. He's fantastic. There's nothing else to say. Yeah, so that's that. I'll move on now to the Rangers. And Zibanejad, $5.35 million till 2022, expiring next year. I have a different opinion of Zibanejad, but $5.35 million is an excellent contract. I don't think he's a true number one centerman that a lot of people think. He's incredibly streaky, but he's still an excellent goal scoring centerman. I think he's more suited as a number two center behind a number one. But overall, I mean, he's still a great player. You can't deny it. And on an excellent contract. And the trade that brought him to the Rangers was something else. But yeah, nothing else to say other than excellent player. Next up, Philly. Couturier, $4.3 million, 2022. Yeah, expiring next year. He is a Selke winner, one of the best defensive centermen in the league. How do you probably a top 15 center in the league, I think. Honestly, he is fantastic. He's still young. Um, nothing but praise for Sean Couturier from me. As a team that's not a Flyers fan, he is probably their best forward, other than Giroux, which is a toss up between the two of them. So he is fantastic. There's nothing other than say that he's the number one centerman in the league. Next up, LA Kings, and I say it's a young goaltender, a relatively young goaltender, Cal Peterson. He $858,000 expiring next year for a probably a 1A 1B goaltender, Cal Peterson, being chaperoned with being a chauffeured along with Jonathan Quick as a tandem. Quick's older and his stats aren't as good, but he's really mentoring Cal Peterson. So overall, this is a really good contract for him. He's still young, especially for a goaltender. He's just getting into his prime. So next year, you should expect him to get a bit more money. This contract. Yeah, nothing else to say. I don't know where he ranks amongst goaltenders. We haven't seen playoff numbers from him yet. LA Kings are thinking that they're going to see it this year. But, yeah, we'll see. Next up, Minnesota Wild. Another young goaltender. See if hopefully I spell this right. Kaapo Kähkönen, $725,000 till expiring next year as an RFA, so they don't have to worry about losing him for nothing. Surprised Seattle didn't pick him. They picked Carson Soucy over him. That's a shocker to me, honestly. For probably going to be a starter in the league at some point. I don't know when, but at some point he'll be a starter in the league. That's an excellent contract for a great player. In tandem with Cam Talbot, who's an honorable mention in this list, I'd say. Yeah. Ottawa's best contract. It's probably going to turn some heads, but I'll explain it. Thomas Chabot, $8 million till 2028. When he signed that contract, I said that is a steal. Chabot plays a lot of minutes, and he's very good on a very bad Ottawa Senators team. This is a team that's terrible, and he is not. He is their best defenseman, and even with all the prospects, he'll still be their best defenseman. He's going to be in the Norris conversation as soon as Ottawa gets better. He's going to play a lot of minutes. It is well-used minutes. Absolutely fantastic defenseman. Probably a top 15 defenseman in the league, I'd say. Next up. This is Mackenzie Blackwood. $2.8 million to 2023 for a number one young starting goaltender. He's gonna get a raise when that contract's up. He's gonna prove that he can be a top 10 goaltender in the league, which he absolutely can. In a tandem with Jonathan Bernier, that could backstop them to the playoff spot. Blackwood could steal you a bunch of games, and he is fantastic. He is one of the best young goaltenders in the league. Being thrown to the Wolves in New Jersey, but they're getting better, so it should be better for him too. Nothing but praise for Mackenzie Blackwood. Excellent goaltender. Next up, former Hab on this one. Lars Eller, 3.5. That's 123. So for the third line centerman that he's been through his entire career, $3.5 million is excellent for what he provides. It's the perfect contract. This is why it's the best contract on that team. And he's not that old, I don't think. I think he's older than people think. But for your third line center, it's exactly what you need. That is the perfect contract for him. Other than that, good player. Next up, San Jose. Thomas Hertl, 5.625 million till 2022, expiring next year, for our number one centerman on a lot of teams, including one in for number one centerman on a lot of teams in the league that he'd be. He's a top 25 centerman in the league. He is fantastic. And at 5.6 million, that is a bargain contract. He's worth what Logan Couture is making, which is $8 million. His next contract should be interesting. That he's only 27. What's it gonna be? Who knows? Anyways, I'll move on to the Jets. And point per game player is this player. I'm gonna make sure I spell it right. You'll see what I mean. I'm gonna do it. Mark Scheifele at 6.125 million till 2024 for a point per game setter. That is a bargain bin contract. I think he's a bargain bin player, but he's the number one centerman and he's absolutely fantastic. Dubois has to compete with that. Good luck in Winnipeg. All I'm saying is good luck for that. Yeah, nothing else to say. A fantastic contract. I'm truly tired today. Next up, Toronto. Nylander, 6.9 million till 2024. He is part of the Big Four that does make Big Four money. If he was making the Big Four money, that would be an interesting contract. Nylander is nearly as good as the other three in the Big Four in Toronto. He's a first line player that plays on the second line with John Tavares, who was a first line center on most teams, and he's on the second line of Toronto, which proves their center depth is fantastic. Nothing but praise for Nylander. He is an excellent player. 30 goals, 40 assists in a year. Easy for him. His shot, he shoots a little high all the time, but yeah, that's about it. Next up, this one, quite interesting. Jack Roslovic, 1.8 million, 2022, expiring as an RFA, and he was a throw-in, and he was the best player in the deal for the Laine Dubois swap. Interesting that he has done so well. He is a Columbus, Ohio native. So it could be something part of it. Could be a part of why he does so well. I don't think he'll be a number one centerman once he's done developing. I think he'll probably be number two centerman. And yeah, still a great player. Great player, absolutely. Next up, this one's an absolutely obvious pick. How do you not have McKinnon, 6.3 till 2023. For a top 5 center in the league. For Nathan McKinnon, who's a playoff performer, how did he even get that contract? That's absolutely too low. Excellent, one of the best players in the league, and he's making 6.3. He's making less than Nylander. He's making less than DeBrincat. That's just Bergeron even. I'm just surprised on how little he's doing. Yeah. Nathan McKinnon, man, nothing else to say. Moving on to Seattle. A former that they took from Colorado. Jonas Donskoy. 3.9 million till 2023. Nothing but praise for this older than people think forward who had a career year. But for a middle six forward at nearly $4 million, he's worth every penny of that contract. Ideal money for Jonas Donskoy. Nothing but praise for a player like him. He's a good energy player, hard worker, great player, absolutely fantastic. Next up, Vegas Golden Knights. And how do you not have Shea Theodore? $5.3. That's 5.2. Till 5.2 till 2025. And Anaheim was dumb enough because they wanted to protect Sami Vatanen in the expansion draft for Vegas. What a dumb move, I think, I'd say. For a top 10 defenseman in the league on a team that already has Alex Pietrangelo, that is just insanity to me. Vegas has the luxury that Dallas has of putting both, having either Pietrangelo or Theodore on the ice at one time. That is insane to me. That's even allowed. Obviously joking about that, but yeah, excellent player. Nothing but praise for him. Next up, Montreal. Now he's just signed this contract, so Jake Allen, who signed his contract for the purpose of the expansion draft that he wasn't picked for, at $2.875 million, 2024 expiring. Oh, 2023. Nope. That wrong. So 2023 expiry is a great contract for the best backup in the league. That he'd be a starter on a bunch of teams, I'd say, absolutely easily. If you think of a lot of teams in Canada, he'd be a starter on. Edmonton, Ottawa, Toronto, even. Yeah, excellent player. Nothing other to say. He took a lot of crap in St. Louis. That he's still young for a goaltender, so I'm not concerned about that. He was drafted in the draft of defenseman in 2008, I believe it was. 2009, one of the two drafts. I don't remember off the top of my head. Yeah, he's been number one goaltender in a lot of teams, and he's the backup to none other than Carey Price. So, who's to say? Next up, Calgary. Hampus Lindholm, who is at 4.85 million till 2024. for a first line forward on any team in this league, he's absolutely a first line forward on any team in the league. What a great contract for him. Absolutely worth every single penny, whether he plays on the center or the wing. Great contract. Number one center on a lot of teams in the league. A first line forward on every single team. There's not a single team in this league that he wouldn't be a first line forward on. I don't see how. Whether it's on any center, right wing, left wing, doesn't matter. He's a forward. He'll play at any position you put him at. Yeah, that's that. Now, for Pittsburgh, I had to scramble to find one that I thought was an absolute bargain. And this one was signed by Toronto. So, here you already know what it is when I say Toronto. Kapanen, $3.2 million till 2022, expiring next year. But he is a fantastic penalty killing contract. He's a top 6 forward on Pittsburgh. Playing with Crosby, no matter who you are, will always help your numbers. Yeah, he is an excellent player. You put him in any role, he'll succeed. He reminds me of Yoel Armia. You put him on the first line, second line, third line, fourth line, he'll be successful. He's a goal scorer, he's a penalty killer, he's a speedy little player. Absolutely fantastic. Nothing but praise. He is one of my favorite players in the league, absolutely. My favorite Leaf, he's my favorite Penguin. Nothing but praise for Kasperi Kapanen. Now, on a team with a bunch of great contracts. Point at 6.75 that has just the extension kicked in 2022. Extension 9.5 for 8 years. That's a great cap hit for a top 10 center in the league in Brayden Point. Nothing but praise for this guy. It's just crazy good. Crazy good. You could have argued him for Conn Smythe in both cup wins that they went on. You could he's nothing but praise, man. Like, he is so good that and in a bridge deal contract that it's an expensive bridge deal, but for what Brayden Point is, a tiny little player, but scorer nonetheless. Scorer is absolutely killer player. Detroit, I had a hard time finding a bargain bin contract in Detroit, but I think I found one. Robbie Fabry, 2.85 till 2022 is a excellent contract for a third line center, which is ideally what he is. He's being overplayed in Detroit in the second line role. I think he'll get traded at some point this year as deadline. Still a young player. Interesting to watch and see what Detroit does this year. Nothing. That's it. No, that's what I have to say to that. Without repeating myself on what I've said a bunch here. Buffalo, a team that's hard to find good contracts on. But this is a Boston contract, so Anders Bjork, who was in the deal with Taylor Hall trade. That's what it was. 1.6 till 2023, actually. Wow. Yep. Young player, young top 9 forward. He's succeeded incredibly well in Buffalo. Like he's gonna stay there after his contract. Just excellent, fantastic player. What else is there to say other than great player? Not gonna wow you offensively. He's not a star, but for what he provides, good contract. That's the whole point of this video. What they provide, how good is that contract? Next up, Dallas. Expiring next year, John Klingberg. What I mentioned earlier with Vegas that it can roll Pietrangelo and Theodore, well, Dallas can roll Heiskanen and Klingberg. 4.25 is a bargain for a top 25 defenseman. Insanely good. Klingberg has been fantastic throughout his career. He was a later round steal. Dallas had a chance to find those. He's a great player, nothing but praise for him. Again, you can roll Heiskanen and you can roll Klingberg. That's insane. He's going to get paid next year. But that's still an insane contract. Insanely good too. Next up, for a point a game player, this player was this year. Or very close to a point a game player. Likely a career year. I'm not gonna lie. Likely a career year. But Vinny Trocheck, $4.75 million, 2022. I don't understand why Florida traded him for what they got back for it. Trocheck, excellent second line center, and that's all he is. That's all he's provided for, and he probably likely had a career year this year. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, great player. Been great throughout his entire career. No, not really. Well, I mean, he's been a second line center in Florida behind Barkov. Now he's second line center behind Aho. Another, both from Finland, huh? Interesting. Anyways, yeah, Vincent Trocheck. Nothing but praise. Nothing can go wrong for him. Really, I don't think. Their 1, 2, 3 is likely him. It's like 4 different centermen that could be in the top 9 for them. Just insanely good for that team. Always important to have. Next up, a team that acquired a lot of bad contracts this year, but this one is absolutely not. Chychrun, 4.6 till 2025 for a top 15 defenseman in the league. You could argue in top 10, top 5 even sometimes. No, what a great player. At the time that contract was signed, it was a bit of a, what the hell are you doing? This is not proving anything, but you know what? On a team that had Ekman Larson, you had Chychrun on your second pair, you could roll Chychrun Larson, Ekman Larson. Good luxury to have, I'd say. Yeah. Alright. Next up, a team that traded away most of their bad contracts. Yeah. This one is not, although it is expiring next year. Bastard. 5.875 till 2022. Oh, that's terrible. 2022. Yeah, that's a great contract. For what, 30, 40 goal scorer, best it can be if he's healthy. He can be a 70-point player playing with Pettersson. Excellent. Just absolutely phenomenal. Nothing but praise, like I said, nothing but praise. Like I said before, nothing but praise for him. He is... He is my favorite Canuck, I'd say. Yeah, he's my favorite Canuck. Sorry, I have a list of my favorite players. I can't remember off the top of my head. On a team that I don't like, with Vancouver, he's my favorite Canuck. That's saying something. Yeah, nothing but praise. Excellent player. Next up, last up, St. Louis. Frenchie Perron. He is great. Nothing but praise. He's the Stanley Cup champion. St. Louis and in Pittsburgh, I believe. Went to the finals in Vegas. He was at a point per game. He was St. Louis leading scorer. I don't think he does it again. But for Perron, great player. Plays well with O'Reilly. Nothing but praise for Perron. He's a French player. I was kind of hoping he'd be in Montreal this year, but guess not. Anyways, that's everything for today. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit like and subscribe. Hit the bell notification so you never miss a new upload. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. On which team do you think is best contract? Yeah, this is just my list. This is just one person's thoughts. Yeah, thanks for watching, and goodbye.